202. Better hear what I've got to say because you won't get it again.
I'm not an alpha male. I'm not a beta male either. I'm just a better man. Well, put your happiness first, because if you don't, they won't.
Yo, what up? What up, my people? What's going on? Good to be back. Man, I missed y'all. I definitely missed y'all. Let's see who's in the comments. Anybody in the comments, if the sound is good, give me a thumbs up if you're in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you hear me loud and clear. What's up, TikTok? Trying to get it together. Back on the lives, yeah. Back on the lives, you know. Back across the pond. If you can hear me good, anybody in the comments, please give me a thumbs up. One Dre Music, thank you. Alex, what's going on? Thank you. Who's in TikTok? Pizza Joe, Donnie, Motown Philly, David Mann, the official, Brooklyn, Motown, Ernesto, what's going on? Still waiting for everybody to come in. Phone lines are up. Let's see. Don't forget, most important, the Cash App. The number's up. Let me see what else we got here. I'm gonna. Got my people in the building. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what the Cash App is. Did I not put the Cash App up? What's up? Oh, there it is. Oh, God. Here we go. There we go. There's the Cash App. Phone lines are open. Haven't been here for a long time. We just got back from the UK on Sunday. Happy New Year. What's up? We're going live with TikTok as well. What up? It's good to be back. Good to be seen. Good rest. Got to see my little man, so that's always dope. And he's getting big, and I'm trying to be a good father, so I'm in the building. Let me see who's in the comments real quick. Xavier, what's up? Victor, Ariola, Alex, thank you for coming in. You played yourself. Terrell, Rico, One Dre Music, Jabril, Africa, thank you all for coming in. We are streaming on multiple platforms, YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook. It's good to be back. Phone lines are open in case somebody is in urgent dire of help. It was a little difficult. I want to apologize to everybody for being away. You definitely needed me because I was doing consultations. I was doing consultations in the UK as well on WhatsApp. So appreciate y'all not letting me go. A couple of people reached out and said, yo, where you at? Are you going live? So I needed a little bit of break. So I'm back. So it's good to hear y'all. One of the things I want to talk about is what's interesting about things is that you there's always, as I live and breathe, so does everybody else. I know that sounds like meaningless, but it isn't. It means that I'm learning and growing myself every single day. And I realize from being out around my son, I realized that as a man, there's just things that my wife is not going to be able to do. My son's mother, that she's just not going to be able to do. And one of those things is that she's really just never going to be able to discipline my kid the way I would like. It's just never going to happen. And when I realized she loves him too much, She likes him. She wants him to like her. And it's an interesting thing to watch him because he's so much like me. He's not a bad kid, but he's definitely a con artist. And so he might be Rico the King in the building. What's up, baby? Thank you for the $5. Thank you for thinking of me so early. Bye-bye. That's what I'm talking about. We've been on 9 minutes. I got a cash out for $5 from Rico King. We got a number. Hold on, let's get it. I'm with it. I'm all for it. Let's get it done. There's work to be done.
I like YouTube.
Yo.
What up, Dante? Been a fan for a hot minute since Fierce XM days.
What's going on, man? Wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. That's like 2006, 2008.
Man, telling you what, you give me some lessons as a man with only a single mom. You got to figure them out somewhere, and happy to have you in my life.
Yeah, same, Sam, man. Thanks for calling. Have you been listening to the new content? All the new content that I put out? Because a lot of things have changed since then, you know.
Oh, yeah. No, and I want to say I would love the fact that you were very much internally focused. You always got, making sure that you were right before you blame anyone else.
Yeah, and I also don't want to give out. I mean, it's weird because a lot of the so-called relationship gurus, your boys like Myron and all these other knuckleheads who are making it up as they go on. But what's funny is a lot of them were listening to they grew up on listening to Black Phillip themselves and then just basically copied that stuff that they heard on the internet. And but it's interesting that all of those guys end up showing their true colors. It always falls apart in the end.
Mm-hmm. Damn right, my man.
Big shouts to Jace, the pickup scientist. He's one of my little disciples who's really doing his thing on TikTok. Shout out to him. He always bigs me up, always giving me props. And I'm always trying to be thoughtful. Is there anything I can help you with, brother?
Yeah, man. I think you came just at the right time coming back from Europe, man. So just had a break with the girl as of yesterday, and I know what a break is. We all know what that is.
Okay.
But I'm really struggling right now because I'm having a big difficulty with trying to figure out, is it me or is it, an incompatibility, if that makes sense.
Okay. So what was her reasoning for the break? She said that we need to take a break. Did that preclude an argument?
Oh, yeah, I did. I can give you
Okay.
some background on that.
And what was the argument about?
There's been a few. We actually just went to a nice all-inclusive resort out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll be honest, we've been having, it's an all-inclusive. You have a little drink here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going right back to a dinner. And I go into a bathroom just to, get ready for dinner, check the phone because, you never want to be looking at the phone with your girl at the table.
Right.
And I've been dealing with a death in the family, an unfortunate death.
Okay.
God couldn't be saved.
Sorry to hear that.
I won't.
My
Thank
condolences,
you, man. I
bro.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, with grief, it hits you the wrong way sometimes. And, I got to admit, I had a little breakdown in the bathroom that took a little while, but, I want to be strong. I want to show up. I don't want to put that out there.
Absolutely.
And so, try to get myself together. It took a little bit. And, I get out there and we eventually make it down to the table. She's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I'm like, hey, I don't really want to talk about it and just kind of keep eating. And, I'm always looking at the things I could do better. I probably could have explained it a little better.
Yeah.
But, at this point, it's almost like a little bit of the hammering starts of like, hey, what's going on? This is starting to ruin my dinner. And at that point, it starts getting to a point where I can tell it's bubbling up again. So I'm like, I get up and I just go out to a little lobby area right outside the restaurant. And I, have my feelings out there.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why didn't you just tell her what was going on?
Honestly, at that point in the past, I haven't really gotten the support I've really needed at the time. But also, this was kind of like she's been digging for a little deeper connection. And when I'm trying to give it, sometimes it gets a little back and forth. So I had that feeling
okay.
that
So
time of
hold,
like,
stop. So when you say back and forth, what do you mean? Like
just as like
she's saying she wants a deeper connection, right?
Yeah.
Now I get that what that could look like, and she probably doesn't even know what that looks like for herself. But what she's saying is she wants more. And I'll say this to you: when you ask it, the easiest thing in the world is, what does a woman want? The answer to that is more. Whatever you giving them, they want more. And whatever you're not doing, they want more of. Whatever you haven't done, they want that. So, but that's a matter of, but here's a situation where you probably could have just said, listen, I'm having a rough time about, who was it that passed away? You mind me asking?
Oh no, it was a cousin, and the background was I just got done. I'm getting some photos together for his mom, and so it was a little fresh in my mind.
Okay, all right. So why didn't you just tell her, look, I'm having a rough time with this. It's a little rough for me. Why didn't you just say that?
So eventually, it did get to that point where I think. Sorry if I didn't say this earlier. I did hold off on it. We dug back and forth, and then it said, I'm just having a hard time. And then, gotta admit,
what was her response? Sorry. What was her response to that?
You know, I wish I could remember the exact wording, but I remember the feeling of like, it was very much like why are you doing this now kind of vibe. So
you said you were having a rough time, and she wanted to know why you were doing this, because you're spoiling you're spoiling the dinner. Is that what it was? Is that what your feeling was?
Yeah, but maybe some more context about afterwards, because I got a little more clarity afterwards during the fight that ended up ensuing, actually. So what happened after that was, we end up going home, and before, most of the meal comes in, and what I got from her was basically like, I had to go sit in front of the lobby and wait people passing me by. I had to go and walk by the waiter and tell them we don't need the food. I didn't feel comfortable in front of strangers that you weren't talking to me about this. And eventually it got to the point of like, why would you not care that I have any food?
She was saying that. That was her response to the fact that you... Well, look, let me ask you something, because it seems to me like you're trying to hold it together because you don't want to show any weakness. And in the process of that, you ended up looking weak. Because in the context of, the fact that she had to deal with all of these things, right? Wouldn't it have been easier for you to just let her know before you even got to the restaurant?
So totally get that. But in our past, she says, I've been too emotional. I've been too upfront with what I'm feeling. And it's basically, she's had kind of an upbringing where there were big emotions in her family. And she was basically like, hey, there's, this kind of, anytime you have an emotion expressed, it puts it on me, like as in her. And it was one of those feelings of just generally like, oh, this girl will not be there to back me up when stuff hits the fan. Instead, like I want a soldier that's right with me, that will be like, hey, I know you're going through shit, but everyone else, they can, do whatever they need to. You're my partner, and I should be here for you.
Okay, and so stop. So here's where my rub is with you, right?
Go for it, man.
She says you're not. She says you're not. She wants you to engage her more, right?
She wants more of these like intimate kind of times when there's nothing going wrong and we can just talk. And that is something I'm definitely noticed.
Here's what I'm saying. But you said that she hasn't really been down for you in the past. It was kind of like it was like a burden, right? And then your response to that was from 0 to 100. So now you're going to just hide stuff from her. Is there a mid ground between Is there a mid ground between expressing your feelings and not jumping out the window?
Oh yeah, totally.
So what I'm
Totally.
asking you is, wouldn't that have been a better solution if this is it doesn't have to be one or the other?
Yeah, totally.
So my point with this is that what makes you go from one extreme to the next and then be upset because there was no there was no moderation in any of it?
I think it's just been like the patterns we keep having where when I open up or I have a frustration, even if it's not directed at her, I could be on the couch on my phone and just kind of like going like, oh man, this isn't working. And she'll be like, hey, can you not do that? You're stressing me out.
Okay.
And I'm not talking through it or yelling.
Are we saying that you think that this woman is just not really concerned about how you feel? Because here's something that I was thinking about while I was across the pond, is that you have to be with somebody who wants to make you happy. If somebody is not interested in making you happy, if they're not interested in identifying what your needs are, you got to get out.
And it's hard right now.
And the bottom line is, if that's what but still, you're still, because let me explain this. The burden of strength is always going to be on us. If you want to be captain, king of the castle, captain of the ship, you don't ever get vacation days on that.
Yeah.
You have to show up all the time. And when you don't show up, now, don't get me wrong, you can create capital where you have got it together so often that a woman will actually look for you to be vulnerable. They want that opportunity. But trust me, they don't want a weak man, because a weak man, or at least what they perceive as a weak man, is a weak man that makes them feel unsafe. Okay? But
totally.
To the same token, I think there's a distinct difference between there's a few things going on. I mean, and I can't assess it, in the course of a few minutes. But what I would say is, number one, it seems to me like you could have just said, "Hey, I'm having a little rough time with my cousin, and I'm just trying to get wrap my head around it," and then it gives her an opportunity to decide to what degree she wants to be there for you. To the same token, for you to put it off, go back and forth. I mean, look, if you can't hide it and keep it under the wraps, then then understand everybody's going to be aware of it. It's sort of like, it's sort of like a woman going, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Nothing." And then she goes, "Nothing." And then there's the silent treatment through the whole dinner. It's the same. You might as well say what it is, because everything's all effed up in the first place, So if you're not, so my point is, there's a problem. There seems to be a problem with whether or not she's really down for you, because there's also a contradiction. I mean, we probably would have to do a consultation or something to kind of dig a little deeper in that. But the reality of it is, number one, it seems to me like you're jumping out the window. You're going from one extreme to the other, where you're going to the bathroom to kind of get yourself out together, and then probably weren't really together in the first place. And then you're worked up at dinner, but you're saying nothing's wrong, and then you got to go out in the hallway to get I mean, it's just too much. So it seems to me like there's a lot of what a woman is going to perceive that indecisiveness as feminine energy, which is going to just make her not feel comfortable around you.
Makes sense.
So I just feel like you're not being solid. I'm not saying that she may be somebody who's selfish and doesn't give a damn about what your emotional stability is or anything, and that's something we could talk about. But you definitely didn't handle this in the right way.
Totally agree.
So I don't know if you listen, and we talk about ACE all the time, as authenticity, credibility, and empathy, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's nothing about this where you were authentic. Like
I can see that.
you went in the bathroom and you had your feelings, and you came out, you weren't honest about what it was. Even if you didn't want to show her that you lost it a little bit or whatever, I get you. But still, it's not like she's not aware you're in the bathroom trying to get your shit together for a period of time, and you're waiting to go to dinner, and then it's not like and there's nobody's gonna believe that there's nothing wrong. The behavior.
Oh yeah, and let me just make sure I put it out right. It's like I didn't say that there was nothing wrong. I was like, hey, I just can't talk about it now. And she knew I was dealing with something similar.
That's crazy too, because let's be honest. If she had something going on and she says I can't talk about it now, what does that do to you? If the shoe was on the other foot, yeah.
For me, it's like, well, hey, I mean, maybe this could be our dynamic too, and she's got an Asian culture background, so that could also be an effect of it. I would just be like, hey, I'm here for you when you need me. Let me just maintain the tone.
That's not what I'm saying. What you would say. I'm saying, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, I would be like, internally, I would be like, she might not be ready to talk about it, and I don't want to push it or.
That's not what I'm asking you. What you think about her? What I'm saying is, what do you feel? Ultimately, you want it resolved. If it's a problem, you want it resolved, right?
That's true.
And if she's in a funky place, you want her to talk about it. And okay, maybe she can't talk about it now. We'll deal with that. But your feelings are that you want it resolved. So this is where the empathy comes in. If you want it resolved, why not resolve it for somebody else?
I see.
You don't have to go in depth in it. You can say, just, this is a rough time for me, and it's a little bit hard. It hit me a little harder than I thought. And but we're here. I want to just have a great time while we're here, and I really want to focus on you and whatever. And then if she delves into it, and you can see where she's at. But there's nothing authentic about you going in the bathroom and hiding your feelings. There's nothing. Not only that, but you're not really hiding it, because now it's a whole act of Congress. This is the fifth act in a Broadway play. And this is you're playing Ariana Grande. You the good witch. You know what I mean? Like, why do that? Why not just resolve it? And if she can't handle it, you can always back off. But so there's something in you that I'm sensing. Number one, that you go from one extreme to the next. And then, even though you're going for the extreme, then it's real. It really reads feminine energy that's going to make a woman feel uncomfortable.
Got it.
Now, the other part of it might be that she doesn't have the capacity to emotionally be there for you and all of that. That may be part of it too. That might be something also. I'm just saying. This is, and it's funny because I was getting ready to get into this. You have to be the guy. I mean, you want to be king of the castle, captain of the ship. You don't ever get to not steer. We used to do this back in 2006 when Patrice and I was on Sirius Radio. It was like, do you ever get the chance to just love him?
Nope.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean. Do you ever get to take a nap while you're driving? Well, I mean, you see how Elon Musk and how those cars are crashing. Like, so no, you always got to be on point. And when you're not on point, then you're judged on that. And I'm not saying that's not. I'm not saying it's fair, but none of it is fair. None of it is equal. None of it is fair. But what you ultimately want to do is you want to have a relationship that is as least stressful as possible to you. And it just seems to me like you're creating problems.
I mean, yeah, at this point I definitely was. And I mean, I definitely appreciate it. I love hearing the feedback, and that's why we're here to improve. And no one's too old to improve, man. I'm telling you that, and I appreciate it. Sure.
I mean, I always look at it like, how is this, that's where the empathy comes in. How is this going to be perceived by a woman? So I have a good friend of mine, and he's going through a rough time. Right now he's got cancer, and he's fighting cancer.
Sorry, man.
And yeah, he's a good dude though, but he's had a lot of times where he flew off the handle, had attitudes, acted up, and cussed somebody, cussed her out, and said horrible things and stuff like that. And now he's really working. I guess one Dre Music. Thank you for the $20, baby. I appreciate you.
Shout out.
Thank you. One Dre Music on the Cash App. Thank you, baby. $20. Thank you so much. But he's having a rough time, and one of the things is that he listens to me a lot, but he also he has a really good run, and then he does like weirdo shit afterwards, and then he's like, well, I was so good, and I go, but you don't have a reputation for being in control of your emotions. And so you messing up once strips us back to square one, because she doesn't trust you to kind of manage your emotions in the first place. So I understand that it's unfair that you're doing well, and time, change takes a long time, and it takes time for it to stick. But you got to understand that you have a reputation. There's something I call the Judge Judy effect. Is when you go to everybody's watched Judge Judy before. If you get caught in a lie in the first 5 minutes of the case, you're done, because nothing you say has any real validity beyond that. And so that's where Xavier Corina, what up, baby? $5 on the Cash App. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Xavier. You always on it, bro. But the point is that you have to have capital to spend. And if you haven't been consistent with your emotions, and you've had these outbursts, and I have to assume that if in one course of one day, just from your own story, there was a time where you had to go in the bathroom and get your shit together, and then you're at the thing, and then you're like, no, nothing's wrong, and then you got to go to the hallway, and then it's, I don't want to talk. I mean, all of that stuff says a trend of how you operate emotionally. And for me, looking at it from the outside, that's a level of inconsistency that's just not going to make a woman feel comfortable. Okay. Now, there might be the second part of it might be that she's incapable. Maybe she don't care, or maybe she's too selfish to want you to be happy, and she's not. She's talking about, I want a more of an emotional connection, but doesn't want it. When there's other things for somebody to have your back, or she wants the good stuff and not none of the bad stuff. But if you got somebody like that, you absolutely are going to be in a situation where, hey, people, like, you'll see that, that will come out in the wash,
I mean, right now it's kind of coming out because I always loved your ideas of critiques versus criticism.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of criticisms, a lot of you statements. When I bring up something that is heard, I always get it thrown back at me, and I end up apologizing. But when she brings it up, I'm always like, hey, I understand you. Let me repeat it.
Now, does she apologize? Does she apologize?
Haven't heard one in a while.
Then all of that is I mean, that's not a thing that women have a great time with, is being accountable in that way. But if you're not hearing an argument and this goes to a breakup, none of that sounds good. But I mean, if you get a chance, man, book a session with me and we can dig deeper, because there's definitely something going on deeper underneath this. Why you did you grow up with your dad at all, or no?
I ended up getting closer to him as I got older, and
but
connecting.
Not when you were a child, though.
No, I had an uncle that was very close to me, local. He was like a hunter, man's dude, had a family, retired early, boat, all that stuff.
But you grew up with your mom mostly, yes?
Yeah, we had like one of those big families, but yeah, mostly I was home alone most of the time.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
kid.
And so what happens? You got to understand something, and this is no disrespect to you, but
Of course not, man.
you find what you find is the parent, the adults that you look up to, which would be your mother, you're gonna learn how to learn social dynamics from her. And that sounds real, like, and that's what you're doing. This is very kind of feminine ways to deal with this. Running in the bathroom, you know what I mean? I don't want to see somebody cry. I mean, look, you can be in tears and still be very clear and decisive about what your feelings are.
Man, I think that's what I got to do.
Yeah. But you know how to get me, man. DanteNero.com. Click on consult. You can book a session. But there's definitely some other stuff going on underneath there that I would love to get at and clean all that gook out. You know what I mean?
Dude, of course, and leave you somewhere, guys. But thank you so much, my man. And you're always a nice beacon in the light out here. I always appreciate it.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Later on.
Later.
Yeah, it's always an interesting thing why people are surprised that they the people are really surprised that they mimic their parents, which is just, it's what you do. I mean, it's the model that you have in front of you to tell you how to act, how to be as an adult. And if you don't have if your dad's not around, or even if he's around and he's not active and he's not having these discussions about what's expected of you, then you're gonna go to whatever that strongest adult entity is, and you mimic that. I got a bunch of comments. Jerzer Warner, JRZ Warner. I'm not sure what you. Yeah, I did that. He's saying seen the Chappelle Show thing. Robert Spindletree says, when do you know if you're giving or compromising too much to a lady? Men are often expected to pay meals, make plans, keep things exciting in a relationship. My second question is, if there's a breakup, can you basically always blame it on the guy? Dudes are supposed to lead to maintain the attraction. Hold on. We'll get to that, Bob.
Xavier.
Xavier, what's going on, baby? Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Dante? How you doing?
What's going on? I'm good. Happy New Year to you. How can I help you, bro?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to contribute to that conversation because same as the previous caller, I had to figure out how to pretty much be a man, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my mom pretty much raised me, so I had to grow out of a lot of the feminine kind of outbursts, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, no.
Well, it comes natural because it's what you see, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you got to understand, not that you're looking at it. That's the biggest problem. We don't re-evaluate this stuff as adults. So when we're children, everybody is either one of our parents is, they're our parents, and that is the model. If we're not looking to that for a real, we don't have any choice but to look to mimic the way we operate. And so a lot of the people that listen to the show are dealing with that right now. And so the problem is, what we do is we learn this as children, we repeat the process. And then as we repeat the process over and over again, we never reassess our behavior based on where our brain is at right now. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're right. You're right. Because as you know, when I was younger, I think I went into the red pill kind of movement because that to me was strength, But then as I got older and matured, I was like, oh shit, this is the same kind of version of fatherless behavior, but just like ultra, like, Yeah. So, but that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. But it does, that whole red pill thing makes a bunch of guys who are really afraid to be who they really are, and kind of, and so they put on a facade because they don't want to deal with the rejection. They don't want to deal with their own emotions. And the thing is, you can deal with your emotions and still not be a punk. You know, you
Yep.
can be expressive, you can be goofy, you can be loving, you can be all. The problem is when somebody tries to put that moniker on you, you gotta you gotta be a person who doesn't. You gotta be so secure in yourself that you don't let that. But I appreciate you calling in, bro.
Yep. All right. Have a good one, Dante.
Yeah. Man, I gotta get that. Somebody just sent me. PayPal from Alexander. Thank you for the $25, Alexander. I appreciate you. Yeah, I think it becomes a hard thing. Happy New Year to everybody that's listening on TikTok also as well. I'm working on integrating TikTok in there. Well, I mean, we don't even know if TikTok is going to be around, but it's interesting how people wonder how they get these habits. And they get it because, I mean, even if you got a father, I mean, like I was talking about my boy, and he, his father is abusive. He's an abusive guy. And he responds to the people that love him most, or the people that want his love, as abusive in abusive ways. And so he has it's real easy for him to shit on people who have got his back. And as he's going through this dilemma of this fighting this cancer, right? The people that are in your corner, those are the ones that are showing up. So even when you're cranky about your medicine or the chemo, or you don't feel well, like here's the thing that I've always said, that even if you you could actually justify being a dick to people if it helped you. Like if you were a dick to somebody, you were feeling lousy, and then you was a dick to somebody, or a dick to your girl, or a dick to your wife, or your parents, or your kids, or whatever, and then afterwards, you felt better, right? I might even make an allowance and say, hey, as long as it gets by, it gets you better. But the problem is when you're acting like a jerk like that because you're frustrated and you don't know how to express your emotions and your frustration. You hurt yourself. You hurt your standing with the people that got your back and that are spending the most time trying to help you and be there for you because of their family members. You don't feel any better. So it just makes everything worse. It doesn't even, I mean, like at least if you got some relief from it and you felt better, then it might make sense, but it doesn't do anything good for anybody, which is really the point. We need to be, as men, one of the things we need to be is intentful about our actions, what we do and what we don't do. And if we're not intentful, we're not aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, then we probably shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be reactional, because being reactional means that you're allowing emotion to have a seat at the table. And if you have an emotion, if you're going to allow emotion to have a seat at the table, I've said this hundreds, maybe thousands of times, you're just going to make lousy decisions, and you're only going to make your situation worse than it already is. Robert Spindletree, the answer to you is, how do you know when somebody is taking advantage of you? When you feel like it. If you feel like somebody's taking advantage of you, then there's a feeling of that, the fact that your brain already balances this out, what you put out and what you expect back. What is there that I try not to give anything beyond what I can give away without looking for any expectations. Let me explain what I mean by that. I'm not going to give somebody or do something for somebody that I want something back in return. Now, if I'm doing something and I want something back in return, I'm going to be clear about the fact that I expect something in return. There is no assumptions. I'm going to ask it. I mean, even to the point where I say to guys, when you're getting married, right? And you're expected to be faithful, right? Then she better be expected to satisfy your sexual needs, and to assume that that's happening in a marriage simply because you spent tens of $1,000s on a wedding and a dress, and that doesn't mean that. And if she didn't say that that's what she's agreeing to, then don't assume that she agrees to it. So I mean, I've counseled so many dudes in these relationships where people have these sexless marriages. Just like you should be talking about your finances and what you expect of her as a wife and what she expects of you as a husband. You need to get that out, because if it doesn't match up, understand what your non-negotiables are and then never negotiate them. And if you haven't worked that out, then you are in a bargain where you have not even worked out the parameters of what the bargain is. And trust me, it is a bargain. So when you ask me, when do you know if you're giving or compromising too much? First of all, compromising is an interesting word, because compromising means that neither one of, whenever you look up the word compromise, everybody, when you get a chance, look up the word compromise. Compromise means that neither one of you get all of what you want. If you're asking me, when are you doing too much? You're doing too much when you think it's too much. Because that means you're extending you're extending yourself beyond where you're comfortable. And that is the I used to say this years ago: if you feel a tingle in your nuts, chances are somebody's getting ready to kick you in the balls. We are aware when we feel like we're doing too much. And I think it's okay to say, hey, yo, what is this? I'm feeling uncomfortable. And the fact that you're winning uh the fact that you're willing to have this conversation says, it speaks to confidence. It absolutely speaks to confidence. And the fact that you're saying, my happiness is important. It is as important as your desires, your needs, your wants. And so that's what the measurement is. A lot of young dudes who were like, well, I was in this situation, what would you do if a woman said this to me? Yeah, you don't go by me. Because I'm not putting up with nothing. I'm also 58 years old. I know what my value is. I know what I'm willing to put up with. And I'm not going to put up with something that ultimately is going to bite me in the ass later on, that I knew I knew I didn't have the stomach for it in the first place. It's a interesting kind of concept that's the case. But I think what happens more than anything is we grow up with parents who are woefully unequipped to be parents. They don't understand. They a lot of parents haven't done the work themselves. A lot of parents haven't figured their own stuff out. A lot of parents have been through their own personal trauma, and they're going through their own personal trauma all the time, and they've never even worked that out. And we have this, it's only recently that people are going to therapy and talking about what's going on and how it affects them. But if you grew up with an abusive, just an emotionally abusive parent or verbally abusive parent, what happens is you learn to be that way. Two things happen. You either become super introverted because you don't want to say anything, because as a child you don't want to be heard, because being heard means some kind of emotional pain, because you got to deal with the onslaught of somebody cussing you out or telling you you're not worthy or whatever. And so you get to the point where you don't want to be seen. You get this idea, if I could just sink into the background. Now that's in your house, but the same thing happens in real life, where you're not willing to step up front, or here's the thing, or if you have that history of being abused in that way, and then somebody shows you some kind of kindness or acknowledges you, you're so it's so foreign to you that you're willing to give away the farm because somebody said something nice to you. And what I find also human beings in general is that people take advantage, man. If you I've seen people who are kind for the most part and then would be in a situation where they take advantage that so they can, because they can take advantage, they do. I mean, how often does somebody, like when somebody drops a wallet full of money, how many people are going to give the money back? I mean, some people do, but that's their character when nobody's looking. And I think that's the real thing. What we have to understand is your character is, what will you do when nobody's looking? When there's no agency watching you, what would you do? I think that's an interesting concept to think about. When nobody's watching, who are you? When you're laying across the bed and the shadow from the ceiling fan is whipping across your face, who are you really? Are you really the person who's a righteous dude, who's kind, who's honest, who's credible, who shows up? And it's not, and I've said this 100 times, if you are 90% trustworthy, that's the definition of a liar. 10% is not good enough. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that anybody's perfect. Perfection is something that we pursue, even though it's unattainable to reach. And what that means is because as you become better, as you come closer to perfection, it moves further away from you because you tend to see more flaws in yourself. So we pursue perfection, but we know that we're not going to reach that. Hold on. We got a call. And because of that,
Maximo Sand.
We pursue perfection, but we know that we're not going to.
Yo, what up?
Yo, Dante.
Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Maximo Santana.
What's up, Maximo? How you are? What's going on, bro? How can I help you?
Hey, what's up, man? First of all, I love your content, man. I've been watching you and Patrice for years, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Well, how can I help you, though?
All right, man. So that being said, my brother died a couple years ago, and I kind of lost my mojo.
I'm sorry to hear that, bro. Sorry to hear that.
Thanks, but so how would I get back into my mojo, man? Like,
okay, let me ask you this: when you say your brother passed away, what did your brother have to do with your mojo? Like, were y'all like? I mean, when you say your mojo, I'm assuming you're talking about talking to women and stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah, like I don't. Me and him are like, we're just really close, man. So
okay, but did y'all pick up girls together? Was he your like wingman, or like did he? I mean, I'm trying to understand what the relationship was.
Yeah. I mean, we would go out together and pick up chicks, go to the gym, go to the store, hit up the movies, that kind of stuff.
All right, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay, and how old was your brother when he passed?
25.
Okay, so it was your younger brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my now. Was he more outgoing than you, or?
Yeah, definitely more outgoing.
All right, I'm gonna say something to you, and this is, I don't want to seem cold about this, but I think this is the best thing in the world that helped me to get over the deaths that I've had, my mother, my father, people that matter to me. And what you have to understand is that no matter what happens, right, none of us get out of this alone. None of us get out of this thing we call life without dying. We all gonna die, okay? Secondly, it's unfortunate that he died at such a young age, right? But if he was 85 instead of 25, there's no way you would have said, well, at least he's 85. Our desire to want to be around our loved ones, and for us to want to love our loved ones and to keep them around forever is something that's just human in nature, right? Which is interesting because we all understand that everybody's going to die, right?
Mhm.
Now, you have said something that I think is really dope, and I don't think that you're taking it into consideration. You had an amazing relationship with your brother, right? You did things
Right.
together, you shared things together, you grew together. Do you know how many people don't even have that? Never had that. I grew up with 3 sisters. All of my sisters were horrible to me. I barely have a relationship. I don't have. One of them passed away. I wasn't talking to her when she passed away. The other one, that's the older one, that's still alive. I don't have any relationship with her. And so what I'm saying to you, and I'm not saying to be happy, be grateful for what you got, but I am saying that what I'm saying is life is not forever, right? And everybody ends up in the dirt. You better recognize that time is the commodity, that living your life to the fullest, telling the people that you love them, being there for your kids, being there for your parents when you want to be there for those. It's no option. You think you have an option. Everybody thinks they got all the time in the world, and what happens is life shows them over and over again that they don't. They don't have it all together. So what I'm saying is you have to be you have to, and getting over losing a brother, losing a mother, losing it don't get no better. What we do learn is we learn to cope. We learn to, if you guys, it's like losing an arm. Like if you had an arm that was amputated, right? You don't ever grow the arm back. What you do is you learn to pour juice with your left hand. Do you know what I mean? You put the cup here and you pour with the other hand. You know, you hold it with the. This is what we do. We learn how to cope. But you got to understand is while you are, and I'm not saying you're not supposed to mourn, but while you are mourning, right? You got to understand that you are wasting your life while you're doing that. Every day that clicks by and you're not doing the things that you want to do, not being the best version of yourself, not experiencing life, right? Because sorry, but your brother's gone. So we can either accept that, know that you had a great brother and a great relationship, which most people don't, right? And then live your life to the absolute fullest. Because let me tell you something, you ain't gonna get out of this alive either. You understand?
Right.
And so I don't want to be harsh about this as if I'm insensitive, because I miss my mother every day. But when my mother was alive, I showed up. I was there. I was there when she needed. I was there, and because of that, it gives me some kind of resolution to the fact that she's gone. But it doesn't change the fact that she's gone, and I have to do without. The question is, your life has to be as important to you as it was to your brother. And you're failing with this. Now, if you're talking about getting your mojo back, and I could teach you that. That's not a problem. All you got to do is DanteNero.com, click on consult. Guys who are in the chat right now will tell you it works. I can get you back on the game. But what you have to, even before that, you have to understand, life is for the living. It's not for the dead or the past.
Yeah.
And every day that you waste worrying about, because you can, you know what I'm saying? You can go smash some big booty chick with big titties and still mourn, after you drop her off. You know what I mean? You don't have to have, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. We can walk and chew gum. You're always going to miss the people that are important that impacted your life. But thank God you had somebody who, that's the first thing. And trust me, you better prepare because you're 30, what do you say? You're 37?
Yeah.
As you get older, people start to die. I'm 58. I'm always, every phone call I get from a family member, I'm wondering who passed away. So it becomes more frequent, and it's unfortunate that your brother was young. You mind me asking how he passed?
Cancer.
And I mean, this is another thing. I mean, which is even more evident that he was 25 years old with cancer. So we can't take it. Can't take for granted the people that are around us that we love, because we don't know when this thing ends. I mean, if I die tomorrow, man, I even y'all, even the people that listen to my content will say, "Yo, that dude wrote it till the wheels fell off," to the end of the day. I mean, what else can you ask for that? When I close my eyes, I want to know that I did everything that I could have possibly done to do that, to so that people go, "Wow, he lived a full life." And it doesn't even matter what they think. It matters what I think. I want to have a full life. I tell everybody I'm teaching myself how to play drums. I'm 58 years old. Always wanted to play drums. I'm teaching myself how to play drums. I'm never going to stop.
That's interesting.
Cool.
I'm
never going to stop growing. I'm never going to stop working. I'm never going to stop being better. I'm never going to, because if I do, then what am I doing? What am I really talking about? So keep that in mind. You're lucky to have had somebody, and stop wasting your time. It doesn't do you any good, because 10 years from now you could be in the same position. And if it's trying to get your mojo back, or learning a skill set that could get you, where you have feminine company, man, just put in for a consultation. It's up on the screen. It's DanteNero.com. Click on consult. We'll fix it, and we'll work on a little bit of a grief therapy as well to get you past this. But you got to understand, that's not going to change the fact that you lost him. The only thing that you can change is what's within your control, and what's within your control is you and what you do. Make sense?
Yeah, man. See, only you would be able to fix this shit. So,
well, I don't know if I'm fixing it, because it'd be nice if I could wave my hand and bring people back to life, but it's just.
No, you can't fix that, but you can definitely help me get my mojo back, man. Like, you're one of the coolest dudes. And
I appreciate it, man. So. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, man.
Right, man.
I'm sorry for your loss, bro. But understand, man, when people are alive, you better get it done while they're here, because they won't be. Okay?
That's true.
All right, brother.
Thanks a lot, Dante.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Love you.
Love you, bro. Yeah, it's that's one of the things, man. I've always was, you get that situation when somebody passes away and you go to it there. And I always wonder what would be most comforting for me. And what's always most comforting for me is just the reality, the truth of it. And the truth of it is that, man, you can't, what it is what it is. People die. Cameron voice. People die every day. Cameron voice. It's what you did up until that point. I think that really matters. And there's nothing worse than having those regrets after the fact. But what I was talking about before is that, we as kids, not so much now, but as kids, we've learned to operate in social dynamics in a certain way. Like the first caller, clearly he's learned these kind of feminine ways to deal with his emotion, and maybe he's listened to my stuff, and so he knows, well, man, if I act my true self, then it's just gonna look bad. So he's hiding that. But in deep down, he's learned those He's learned those things. He's learned those patterns of how to operate it. And then what happens is we get older, we have experiences, we live life, we live and have multiple different ways in which we operate on different things. And then we're in a situation where we don't ever reassess the way in which we handle things. So it's sort of like let me see. It's sort of like you having a car. You have a whole old clunker and then you go to school for auto mechanic engineering, and you know how to fix cars, right? But you keep doing the same things that you did when you didn't know nothing about cars. It's absurd. Everything in life teaches us certain things. We learn things, and a lot of times we don't see the relevancy. Like when we talk about, we talk about laying the 5 bricks, and we talk about just getting more comfortable with social interactions, talking to people. That's why when we talk about laying the 5 bricks, we talk about talking to attractive women, unattractive women, older, younger, not just the women, to learn how to speak and socialize non-transactionally. That's great when you're talking to women, because women have to have that they have to have that moment where they they want you to approach them non-transactionally, because they're always under the pressure of every guy that's trying to talk to them is trying to sleep with them. So you got to learn how to talk non-transactionally. But that lesson doesn't just affect you in relationships. It also affects you at work. It affects you at family. When we talk about, Robert was asking me, how do you know when you're being taken advantage of and stuff? And the reality is that when I say you got to decide that. You have to decide how much you're going to take and what. But the thing is, if you think that somebody's taking advantage of you, and they really don't have, because sometimes people are selfish to the point where they just feel as though they deserve it. They just think they deserve more than everybody else. Phone lines are up to 929-269-4922. But every lesson you learn is applicable in your life. And we all have family members that overstep their boundaries. Maybe older people, older sisters, or older brothers who feel as though they can take advantage of you because they're older, or younger younger siblings who spoil rotten, and because they they're accustomed to just being spoiled and getting everything that they want. It's just, but we have to decide where we draw the line, what we're going to put up with. And as soon as I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, I'm going to you're going to hear my mouth. I'm not going to let it ride. I'm not going to see how it turns out. I didn't like that. Because somebody who really is interested in your happiness, or respects you, or they respect your time, or respect your life, the fact that you're in their life, if you express discomfort, they're gonna go, I like this guy. I don't want him to be uncomfortable around me. My intention, if somebody's intention is not to be disrespectful and stuff like that, then somebody who doesn't want to be perceived that is going to open their mouth, and they're going, man, what did I do? I'm sorry. Now, when you have people who just don't care, it's evident that they don't care. This crazy thing happened when I was in the UK, right? I was doing a podcast with some British dudes, British comics. There was one guy was talking to me, and they knew that I podcasted, and and I was like, it's really important to have a online presence, especially as a comic. And he was like, we've been doing the podcast, but it doesn't, I can't get these guys together, and da 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 da. Anyway, so went and did the podcast. And what happened was one guy was setting up the cameras. One guy was setting up the cameras, setting up the wires. The other two guys were just sitting on the couch, just waiting. They weren't even trying to help. So that was the first red flag. The second red flag was we were all kind of smoking and drinking and, having fun and laughing. And then one of the dudes spilled like some soda on one of the dude's couch, right? And he apologized. He was like, yo, I'm sorry, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. But it kind of, like he was drunk and kind of sloppy and kind of high. Then later on, he spilled like a whole glass of Jack and Coke on his armoire, right? The whole furniture. And so the guy gets up, the guy whose house it is, he's running around trying to get towels and he's trying to clean it up. Even the other guy who was sitting down, it was like this right-wing guy, who he jumped up and he tried to help and stuff. But the guy that spilled it never even got up, right? And my point of the story is this. When you have somebody whose constitution is that they're going to spill shit all over your furniture and not get up. Yeah, he said he was sorry, but it was like he was careless. This was the second time it happened. And he just didn't, even when he spilled the stuff, it really wasn't like he was interested. And what you have to understand, something that I say all the time, and always remember this, you don't have to eat the whole birthday cake to know that it was made with rotten eggs. All you need is a spoonful of it, the situation is that you have to be in a situation where you look at the essence of who somebody's character is. The essence of somebody's character will come out in everything that they do. And so when you spill a soda on somebody's white rug, you should feel bad about it because you have the empathy to understand that to understand that you don't want somebody to treat you that way. You wouldn't want somebody to treat you that way, and so you act that way. So it's an interesting concept when you watch people act in these very specific ways, and those very specific ways are just a blueprint to who they are as people. And what I've learned to do in time is to recognize that people don't have my best interest in hand, and I'm not mad at them because they don't, nobody owes me nothing, and but I'm not going to continue to put up with somebody. So okay, so we got some dude asked me a question, so I'm going to address this. I don't know why but says, isn't how you treated Gavin very woman-like? I'm not sure what he means. Now, what he's talking about is Gavin McInnes. Everybody knows that I was part of the Proud Boys, and I removed myself from the Proud Boys because they were racist. So I don't know what some dude is thinking. First of all, Gavin McInnes used the Proud Boys for his own props. He was controversial. He was a contrarian. He took a lot of young guys who were misled and pushed them, told them to buy a motorcycle, start a fight, get herpes. Just advice that I would never even give a young dude at all. I guess in essence, what he was trying to say was, to kind of take risks. And I'm all about taking risks, but I'm taking risks, not things that are going to hurt you for the rest of the life. You don't want to have a herpes outbreak for the rest of your life. So I don't know what I don't know what that was. And but I don't understand how it was woman-like. I'm a black man. Gavin McInnes was absolutely racist. The Proud Boys were absolutely racist. And I don't give a fuck about nobody that much to be around people who don't, or who even if they saw me as an exception to the rule, because you're such low IQ that you don't understand that human beings are human beings and they deserve the respect that anybody else should get. And if you don't understand that, I don't really give a fuck. And fuck you and anybody else who has a problem with it. Shout out to RSX 32A. Thank you for the $10 on the Cash App. What advice would I give young dudes? Take risk. It's interesting we were talking about that. Talk to people. Lay 5 bricks every day. Go out and talk to women, not with the intention on getting laid, with the intention on transactional. I'm talking to you to just learn to talk, learn to converse, learn to be more social. Because when you're most comfortable, when you're not afraid, when you don't have that anxiety, that approach anxiety of what's going to happen if I talk to this girl and she rejects me, when you don't have that, then you can be more, you can be as close to who you are as a person. Yes, use condoms. Good point. But you can speak in situations where you're relaxed and you're comfortable, and that's when you're gonna be, most proficient at the social dynamics of meeting people and talking to people. When you have fear, there's this, anytime you allow emotion to have a seat at the table, you can count on cutting your mental proficiency down to a third. So whatever you're good at, whatever your thing is, when you're afraid or you're emotional and you're preoccupied with the emotion of things and fear and stuff like that, you can bet on the fact that you will be you'll be 2/3 less proficient at what you do. Because you can't just access all the knowledge that you have because you're on that fight or flight syndrome. Phone lines is up 929-269-4922. Phone lines is up. This is my first live back since I was only gonna do an hour today, but we are an hour and 15 in. I think I'll take one more call and then we will be back live Sunday night, of course. Let me go over some stuff. If you want to support the show and get extra content, go to patreon.com, manschool202. You know how to get that, and it helps. That's the best way to support the show. I appreciate everybody with the Cash App and the PayPal, but like a subscription it's monthly, keeps us going. It keeps me being able to put this content together. It also puts knickers on me, son. Cheers, mate. Don't forget to book a session with me. It's a one-on-one consultations. DanteNero.com. Click on consult. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the lives, and share them with people that you think you need. We're actually in the process. Shout out to my man Russell in the building. He's always, does a lot of my editing. I appreciate him. If anybody needs an editor, he's a really good dude and really affordable. And I guess we'll put the phone line up one more time. I'll give a few minutes. I'll run my mouth for a few minutes. If we don't get a call, we're gonna shut it down. But yeah, that the one thing I did want to talk about is the fact that there is no put it like this. I'm not gonna say there's no escaping us becoming like our parents, unless, of course, we decide to recognize who our parents are, who they were, who they are, who they were like, and how we want to intentionally be as adults, how we want to be perceived, and we want to, when we're in a situation where our actions are intentional, we find that we have much better outcomes. and that's in family life and relationships and in platonic relationships and our jobs, is that we are intentful about what our actions are, that we move with a plan. Nothing should be random. Now, don't get me wrong, the ability to adapt on the fly is something that you're going to have to do anyway. But we go in with a plan, and understand what the objective is, and what you're typing sounds foreign. I don't get it. Lethal Flat Fist, what's going on? Ah, man, I wish I saw you. I was out in the UK. That's weird. But we need to have a plan. We need to have a direction, and when we have a direction, everything happens better. Yeah, man. I just want to say Happy New Year, man. It's good to be back. Things are going to be consistent again. We'll be back on live on Sundays, on Thursdays, on Tuesdays. We'll see Tri-State Mike on this Tuesday coming up, so that's going to be dope. And yo, man, I love y'all, man. Happy New Year, man. Y'all are the best fans that ever, man. I thought it might be a little light because maybe y'all didn't know I was going to be in the building, but man, y'all showed up just like always, man. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the bell. Referring to Professor X, same Dante. I'm Ways from London. Okay, my bad. All right, would have been nice to meet up. But yeah, Indira, shout out to Indira in the building, Xavier in the building, Jabril Africa, Isaac Thomas in the building, Lethal Flat Fist, Mike DZ. Shout out to my girl Angela in the building, Robert Spindletree, all the good people. I shouted everybody else before. Yo, man, I love y'all, man. Thanks. It's good to be back. I will see y'all on Sunday. Peace.